Sarah Fortune had a childhood filled with happiness and joy. She grew up in an island settlement where she spent much of her time learning the art of gunmaking from her parents. Her mother, Abigail, was a renowned gunsmith. Her mother was known far and wide for the unmatched craftsmanship of her handmade guns. Wealthy merchants would come from faraway lands to purchase her beautifully crafted weapons. Her name was legendary. However, it wasn't always just the businessmen and collectors that wanted one of her exquisite creations. The reavers and pirates of the sea had also heard about the divine quality of her pistols, and one such reaver sought her out. The reaver's name was Gangplank, and he was an up-and-coming pirate with much to prove. He wanted Abigail to construct twin handguns for him, and Abigail reluctantly agreed. A year later, Gangplank came back to retrieve the custom pistols he had commissioned. However, he had no intention of paying for them. Rather, he intended to take the pistols by force. Abigail had crafted 2 exquisite twin pistols, and upon seeing the thug Gangplank had become, she declared that the pistols were far too fine for the likes of him, and she refused to give them to him. Gangplank became enraged by what she said. He ripped the pistols from her hands and used them to gun down Abigail, her husband, and their daughter Sarah. He then set the workshop on fire and out of spite slammed the pistols against the ground. They shattered into many pieces. Sarah awoke in absolute agony. She had not died, but she had been severely injured, and even worse, everything she cared about had been taken from her. She dragged herself out of the flaming workshop with the remains of her mother's pistols clutched to her chest. Her body healed, but she suffered from constant nightmares about what Gangplank had done to her and her family. Sarah only sought one thing, and that was vengeance. Everything else had already been taken from her. So she learned everything she possibly could about Gangplank. She rebuilt her mother's pistols, and she set sail for Bilgewater, the pirate haven that Gangplank had since made himself king of. After setting foot in Bilgewater, Sarah killed her first man within minutes. The man had a price on his head, and Sarah took advantage and collected the bounty. He became a legendary bounty hunter, and the name Miss Fortune became known far and wide. Still, though, she only truly sought one thing, and that was the downfall of Gangplank. And it wasn't enough to just kill him. No, she wanted him to watch as everything he had built crumbled in front of his eyes. So Miss Fortune formed a loyal crew, and together they helped her blow Gangplank's ship sky high and overthrow him. All of Bilgewater witnessed the fall of Gangplank. Afterwards, there was a power vacuum, and the captains of the most feared crews fought for control of the city. Miss Fortune stepped up and helped broker peace between the crews. The 4 strongest crews, Crows, Harkers, Braggs, and Miss Fortunes, declared a truce and split up the city. Miss Fortune could have killed them all, but if you cut off a serpent's head, it will just grow more heads. So she thought it better to charm them and keep peace among the crews. However, they all had other plans. They invited her to a parley to talk about the truce, but they told her that they were splitting up half of her men amongst their crews, and they were taking her guns. They were afraid of her. They didn't want to face the same fate as Gangplank, so they sought to strip away all of her power. Captain Bragg told her they would give her her weapons back once she had learned her lesson. The others mocked her as well. Crow told her to smile, that she looked pretty that way. She fought back the urge to kill them all because she wanted to do things differently. She didn't want to become like them or like Gangplank. She feared that if she cut them all down, there would be another power vacuum and the city would descend into chaos yet again, with countless innocents being caught in the crossfire. She knew there had to be another way, so she put on her finest dress and met Sir Harker for dinner to persuade him to ally with her. He agreed to her proposal immediately, which she found odd because nobody takes the first offer. He was right. He pulled her own pistols on her and tried to kill her, but she was able to escape. Later that night, Bragg and Crow received notes from Harker to meet for a parley to talk strategy on dealing with Miss Fortune. In keeping with the rules of parley, the guard at the door took their weapons. When Harker showed up, he thought he was there to kill Miss Fortune, that the others had captured her. However, none of the 3 captains had sent the notes. It had been Miss Fortune all along. She threw off the guard's cloak and began blasting. She killed Bragg and injured Crow. She then blew off Harker's hand while he was sniveling on the ground. Miss Fortune didn't need the three scumbags. She had tried doing things the nice way, but they had forced her hand. She intended on running the city the right way. Crow began to insult her again, but she walked up to him, shot him in the head, and said, "Hey Crow, I'm smiling."